Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to go deep inside our own bodies to really pull back the curtain on something you hear about all the time, high cholesterol. We're going to talk about what it is, what it does, and its huge connection to our heart health.
So, to kick things off, let's just talk about the stakes. Look at this number, 31%. That's the slice of all global deaths caused by cardiovascular disease. It is, by far, the #1 cause of death in industrialized nations. That is a massive, massive number. And it all starts with a process that happens completely in silence.
So that begs the question, right? What is actually going on quietly, with no symptoms, inside our arteries that leads to such a gigantic global health crisis? Well, the answer is a process, and that process is called atherosclerosis.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll break down exactly what atherosclerosis is. Then we'll get into the big one, the difference between good and bad cholesterol. After that, we'll talk about how you can actually understand your own numbers, we'll look at the modern game plan for treatment, and finally we'll tie it all together and talk about what it means for you and your future.
All right, let's dive into part one. You can think of atherosclerosis as the main culprit, the silent partner behind most types of heart disease. And you know, the scary part is, it's a slow, creeping disease that can start way earlier than you think, even in childhood.
The name itself actually tells you everything you need to know. Atheros is Greek for something like gruel or a mushy porridge, and sclerosis just means hard. And that's literally what's happening, a soft, mushy buildup of gunk that eventually hardens your arteries and chokes off blood flow. It's hardening of the arteries, plain and simple.
So how does this whole mess get started? Well, picture the inside of your arteries as a perfectly smooth, non-stick highway. Atherosclerosis kicks off when that smooth lining, it's called the endothelium, gets a little nick or scrape. Think of it like a pothole forming on that highway. All of a sudden, that spot isn't smooth anymore. It's rough, sticky, and it starts grabbing onto stuff floating by in the bloodstream, especially cholesterol.
And that brings us right to the main character in this whole story, cholesterol. But to really get what's going on, you gotta understand how it even moves around your body in the first place. So let's follow it on its journey through your bloodstream.
Now, right away, we have a problem. Cholesterol is a fat, a lipid. And you know from making salad dressing, oil and water just don't mix. Well, your blood is mostly water, so for cholesterol to get anywhere, it needs a special ride. It gets packaged into these little protein-coated vehicles called lipoproteins. Seriously, just think of them as the delivery trucks of your circulatory system.
Okay, first up, we've got low-density lipoprotein, or LDL. The easiest way to remember it is L for lousy. Now, its job is actually super important. It's the truck that delivers cholesterol out to all your body's cells. But the problem starts when you have way too many of these LDL trucks on the road. It creates a traffic jam, and some of them end up crashing into those potholes in your artery walls, spilling their cargo.
But then we have the hero of our story, high-density lipoprotein, or HDL. You can remember this one as H for healthy or helpful. HDL is the cleanup crew. This is the truck that drives around, scavenges for all that excess spilled cholesterol in the arteries, and hauls it back to the liver to be disposed of. It's a process called reverse cholesterol transport, and it's absolutely vital.
So, when you boil it all down, it's a simple balancing act. LDL, the lousy one, is the delivery guy, bringing cholesterol to your arteries. Too much of it, and you get plaque. HDL, the healthy one, is the cleanup crew, taking it away. So you want less of the delivery guy and more of the cleanup crew. It's a constant tug-of-war happening inside your body.
So how does that LDL traffic jam turn into a hard, dangerous plaque? Let's walk through it. First, those extra LDL particles sneak into the artery wall. Once they're trapped in there, they change chemically. They oxidize. You can basically think of it like they start to rust. This rusting sets off alarm bells and triggers your immune system. Your body's first responders, cells called macrophages, rush in and start gobbling up all the rusty LDL. But they eat so much they get bloated and transform into these things called foam cells. And it's this big, growing pile of foam cells that becomes the soft, mushy core of the plaque.
Okay, so that's the tiny, microscopic drama happening inside your arteries. But how do we actually see what's going on in our own bodies? Well, we get a snapshot from a standard blood test called a lipid profile. So let's break down what those numbers really tell you.
When your results come back, the number that doctors really zero in on is your LDL level. This chart gives you a pretty clear idea of where you stand. Anything under 100 is considered optimal. That's great. But as that number creeps up through borderline high and into high and very high, your risk for all this plaque buildup goes right up with it. It's a really powerful snapshot of your risk.
And there's a really good reason doctors focus on it. After decades of research, it's become crystal clear that your LDL cholesterol level is the single best predictor of your risk. Other numbers in your report matter, for sure, but this is the one that gives us the clearest window into what might be happening in those arteries.
Now for the good news. We understand the problem, we know how to measure it, and we have an entire playbook for how to deal with it. And it's a playbook that combines simple lifestyle changes with some pretty powerful modern medicine.
You know, this playbook didn't just show up overnight. It's built on 100 years of scientific detective work. It really started back in 1913 with some early animal studies, but the huge breakthrough came in 1973. Two researchers, Brown and Goldstein, discovered the LDL receptor. That's the little docking station on our cells that pulls LDL out of the blood. That discovery was so big it won them a Nobel Prize, and it paved the way for 1987 when the very first statin drug was approved.
No matter what, the foundation of any treatment plan always starts with what we call therapeutic lifestyle changes. Step 1 is a heart-healthy diet, focusing specifically on cutting way back on saturated fats and dietary cholesterol. And you pair that with Step 2, consistent, moderate exercise. The goal isn't to become a marathon runner, it's just to get your body moving and burn about 200 calories a day through activity.
But for a lot of people, diet and exercise alone just can't get that LDL number down far enough. And that's where the cornerstone of modern therapy comes in, a class of drugs called statins. These were an absolute game changer. They work inside your liver to block a key enzyme that your body needs to produce cholesterol. By making less cholesterol, the liver gets hungry for it, and it starts pulling much more of that lousy LDL out of your bloodstream to compensate.
And you can see just how powerful they are. Statins don't just do one thing. They improve your whole lipid profile. I mean, they can slash that bad LDL by as much as 60%, but they also give your good HDL a nice little boost and lower another type of fat in your blood called triglycerides. It's just a total, comprehensive improvement.
And look, this isn't just theory. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. Study after massive study has shown, without a doubt, that if you lower your LDL levels by a big chunk, say 30 to 50%, you directly and significantly reduce your chances of dying from heart disease. It just works.
And that brings us to the final and, honestly, the most important piece of this whole puzzle. What does all this mean for you, for your health, and for your future?
Think about this for a second. In just 20 years, from 1980 to 2000, by simply applying the knowledge we've just talked about, identifying high cholesterol and treating it, we cut the death rate from cardiovascular disease by a third. That's not just a story about biology. It's a success story about how understanding a problem gives us the incredible power to control it.
And so that really leaves us with one final, very personal question. The story of what's happening inside your arteries is being written every single day. And by understanding this process, by knowing your numbers, and by working with your doctor, you get to be the one holding the pen. So, what story are you going to write? Thanks for joining us.